My name is John LaRonda Jr. I've lived in this town all my life, and I'm a member of the Lions Club, but I had originally grown up through the ranks in the town hall and in the fire department since I was young. I retired in 2006 from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Assessors after serving on the fire department and firefighter and EMT, and the Board of Assessors after that, and Historical Commission, School Needs Study Committees, Vocational Advisory Board. And I respect all the people on this ballot for obvious reasons. I've been there, and they donate a lot to the town, and they make the town as nice as it is right now. I would like to start out, if you could all stand with a pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Lions Club is proud to present the candidates to the town every year for quite a few years now. And through COVID, we had to be a little creative, and we did Zoom, I think was the last one that we did, and now we're back to live. I'd like to thank Lucille Rosa, who's done it for years and has helped out a lot on this. And I'd like to have a moment of prayer and silence for the victims of Nashville, Tennessee, and their families. Dear Lord, please give them strength to overcome, and let the warmth of their community sustain them, and let us be attentive to what happens and prevent any incident like that from hitting this community. We pray. Thank you. What I'm going to do is go down the ballot. Any of the candidates that are here, I tried to have sit over here. They can come up. They'll have 3 minutes to introduce themselves. Cheryl, the town clerk, has generously volunteered to time for everybody. Just throw up, you've got a minute left, you've got 30 seconds, and stop. Just complete a thought when you come to stop, and don't grab another one, just to make it fair for everybody. And I'm just going to call out the ballot that we have here. Board of Selectmen is Trevor Matthews here. Assessors, Jeffrey Field. All right, Jeffrey, if you can come up and give us 3 minutes. Introduction.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Field. I am a candidate for re-election for the Board of Assessors. I first would like to thank John and Lucille and the entire Lions Club for organizing this event and for everything they do throughout the year within the community and their continued effort in the eye research. So thank you very much, Lions Club. I am a lifelong resident of the town of Freetown. I attended Freetown schools and graduated from Apponequet. I hold a BS in management from UMass Dartmouth. I am married to the wonderful Cheryl, who that will be 39 years in this October. We have raised 3 children, Laura, Molly, and Evan, all attending Freetown schools and graduating from Apponequet. Regarding the, I am the business manager at Leonard's Antiques, a large antique furniture store in Seekonk, Massachusetts, and I've been there as the manager for 40 plus years. Regarding the Board of Assessors, I was first appointed to the board by the Board of Selectmen 4+ years ago to fill an unexpired term. 3 years ago, I was elected to the board. I, along with my fellow board members who are Mike Mata and Paul Sadak, along with our assistant assessor, Mike McHugh, take our roles very seriously. We are, as a board, responsible through taxation for generating the revenue that operates every budget within the town, every department within the town hall, the highway department, the schools, the police and fire. So it is a role that we take very seriously. When a taxpayer comes to us with an abatement application for feeling they're overassessed or overtaxed, we look at that very critically. We try to be equal and fair before we make a judgment, but it is something that we do take very seriously. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and introduce myself. So if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to entertain that. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Board of Health member Robert Joes, is he here? Another Board of Health member, Margaret French. And don't let me forget Mary Bowen. I jumped over her.
Hi, my name is Margaret French. I'm running for the 3-year position on the Board of Health. Currently, I'm on the Conservation Commission, which is also the Soil Conservation Board. So I've been very involved in the wetlands protection, people in town that have to redo, say, their septic systems, or anything around our many wetlands in town, come through the Conservation Commission. So I kind of already have a little bit of a feeling for at least that section of the Board of Health. There are 3 of us that are going to be on the board. So between all of us, the health, the septic systems, all of that, I don't know if anybody has been paying any attention to the possible new requirements for our septic systems. So I've been going to some meetings to look at that and hopefully to be able to guide the town in how we have to do that. Any questions? Thank you.
How about Mary Bowen? She's a candidate for the Board of Health member. Cemetery Commission, Mike McHugh. Finance Committee, Robert Alderson. Oh, Mike. Mike, come on. Sorry about that.
That almost got really easy.
Yeah. You're not going to get off that easy.
Oh, that's all right. I'm not going to take too much time. My name's Mike McHugh. I've been on the Cemetery Commission for 18 years. I'm running for re-election. Any other time that I would take up is better used by the school committee candidates. So if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Lions Club, for holding the event again. Thanks.
How about Robert Alderson? George Grunwald? Housing Authority, Chad Cavallo. Is Chad here? Library Trustees, Paul Sadik. Courtney Ann Brightman.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Similar to Mike, I will try to make it brief. My name is Courtney Brightman, and I'm running for library trustee. I've lived in Freetown pretty much all my life. I moved to Bridgewater briefly for college, and then in Taunton after my husband and I got married, but we moved back to Freetown after our son was born. I graduated from Apponequet. I went to Bridgewater State for college and an MBA from Providence College. I currently work at Sensata Technologies as a corporate credit manager. So I serve right now on the Cultural Council. I'm an election worker, and I also serve on the Freetown Elementary School PTO. So that's a little bit about me. I feel very passionate about the libraries. I visit with my son and my daughter frequently, and when I heard there was an open position, I thought I would try put my hat in the ring and hopefully serve and do some good work and advocate for the libraries and the staff. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for it. Chad's not here for the planning board nomination. Mark Rozovsky, he's for water commissioner. Then we have Freetown Lakeville Regional School District committees. Jennifer Blum. When you're done afterwards, if you want to just take a seat.
Should I grab my dad?
No, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Lions Club for putting this on. My name is Jennifer Blum. I'm an Assonet resident and have been an Assonet resident for the last 5 years. I have been serving on the school committee as a member for the last 3 years. Professionally, I'm a financial advisor. I am also the founder and director of the Help Save Foundation. I have 2 sons, Hunter, a 2021 graduate of Apponequet High School, and Mason, a sophomore at BP. Let's get right to why we're here tonight, my qualifications, why you should vote for me come April 3rd. I was elected onto this committee less than 1 month after the country shut down from COVID. That was quite a whirlwind that no one had any experience with. We had to be creative in how we were going to continue to educate our students while following state guidelines. Not only was I working with the rest of the committee to ensure students' education, but at home I had my own cohort. I understood firsthand why not only my children, but other children who are coming to my house daily were having a hard time, and why it was important to get our children back in school, back to their friends, and back to the activities that drive them daily. And that's what we as a committee and our then superintendent, Rick Medeiros, did. In fact, we were one of the first districts to do so following state guidelines and safety protocols. The aftermath of COVID has left our students with higher social and emotional needs than we have ever experienced. We as a committee, are working hard to budget and get our children the support they need. I currently serve on 3 subcommittees of our school committee. The policy committee, which continuously reviews, updates our schools, student and staff policies. The regional finance committee, in which we work with both Lakeville and Freetown to get the best education for our students within a budget. We as a committee and as the district are always evaluating the needs of the students and our communities. And last but not least, the safety committee, which we have and will continue to work hard to keep our students and staff safe. Let's shift to the elephant in the room, safety. I've been part of the safety committee since inception. Since taking on his role as our superintendent, Alan Strauss, being very close to the Sandy Hook tragedy, has put safety at the forefront of the schools in our district. We, as a committee, have been in full support of the safety plan that was started in July 2022, which was 4 months prior to our breach. Again, these updates started in July 2022, 4 months prior to our breach. We are responsible for the safety procedures you see happening today. The vestibules, Raptor ID, the no trespassing signage, protocols and trainings for staff, and many new devices that I will not speak of in order to keep the safety of our students and staff a top priority. Thank you.
The next one is Robert Clark.
Good evening. Thank you to the Lions Club and Lucille for sponsoring this event. I'm Bob Clark. I have trouble reading, but I'm a lifelong resident of Freetown. I attended Freetown schools, grade 1 to 12. There wasn't any kindergarten when I was to school. I attended Bridgewater State and Clark University. I have a degree and a master's in biology with a concentration in human anatomy. My work experience, I've been an instructor at Bridgewater State, an instructor and administrator in Randolph Public Schools, an instructor at Massasoit Community College, Mass General Hospital, Fisher College, and anybody else that would take me. That was my professional experience. My real world experience, and I got to quote Mark Twain here, who said, "I never let schooling get in the way of my education." And that's because I have had a lot of experience outside of education. In town, I worked at a sawmill, a screw factory, an environmental consultant in the state forest, and my favorite job was working at the Assonet Inn, my all-time favorite. During this time, I made a lot of friends, and all these experiences have contributed to my personal growth. They've reinforced my love of the town and the people who live here. And some people have had a big impact on me was Ralph Gurney, who is since deceased. He was Mr. Freetown. Roy Macumber and Ad Souza, fire chiefs. Jackie Brown, longtime clerk. Paul Sadik, the treasurer that could make anything balance. John LaRonda, and Albert Foster, who epitomized a workaholic to me. This year I'm a candidate for re-election for what will be my final term. I've been on the school committee for 30 years. My focus will be to continue to evaluate and implement the safety procedures outlined in the security recommendations prepared by the Freetown Police Department. I'll also focus on keeping our class sizes small, building a budget which reflects the needs of the school district with consideration for the financial capabilities of the town. Another important goal is closing the achievement gap that was caused by COVID. To summarize, I look forward to continuing to work with all the stakeholders to meet the needs of the students of Freetown and Lakeville. And I'm going to close with a quote, another Mark Twain, he's my favorite. He said, "First God made idiots, that was for practice. Then he made school board members." If elected, I will do my best to prove him wrong. Thank you.
Kayla Churchill. Stephen D. Sylvia. This is what we have. I'd like to open it up to any questions from the audience. We have mics on each side. If you can come up, you have about a minute or so to answer the question. You can direct it to either candidate, and we'll give them a couple of minutes to answer. So if anybody wants to line up, pick your best question, and we'll give, if it's about either candidate and they need a chance to rebuttal, we'll give them a minute or two. If you can just state your name and stuff.
Sure. My name is Sean McGee. I'm a resident of Freetown, born here, raised here, went through the school system here, and I'm now a paraprofessional second grade teaching assistant at the elementary school in Freetown. I just have one question for both of you, which is, what do the words equity and inclusion mean to you? And what do you think they should mean, if anything, to our school district?
Who wants
Equity,
to-
and, sorry. Equity and inclusion to me means that every single one of our students is to be treated the same, and they are to be welcomed and to feel a sense of belonging within our school system and our district.
Okay. Equity to me, equity to me reminds me of an analogy that I read about two stools that people could stand on to look over a fence, and the stools were equal size, but you had a tall student and a short student, and the tall student could look over the fence, but the short one couldn't. So accommodations were made so that that student could in fact look over that fence. That is equity to me, and quality is related to that size of those stools.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi there, Amy Seifer. I've students at FMLS and some stepkids at Apponequet. I'm curious at what, with the achievement gap from COVID, there are some changes in terms of literacy and understanding. I'm curious if you guys have talked with the librarians. I also volunteer at the library at the middle school once a week, so I get to see what the kids are taking out. If there's a plan to really help address the access to different tools for literacy than the kids may have used in the past.
We did a little bit of that this year with our Promethean boards and giving them a little bit more access to different ways to look things up and to interact within the classrooms. Moving forward, yeah, I'm sure that we're going to continue to open that up, different avenues in which our children do have access to those things.
I think the constant changes are in the works. I can't really add anything to that. Hopefully we'll continue on that path and have greater opportunities for those students.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Cameron. I'm a Lakeville resident. I've worked in public education for 12 years and now I work in higher education. And I have two girls, one in first grade, one not yet in kindergarten. And I'm curious, and I don't think I'm alone. Are you guys planning or thinking about adding and expanding your pre-K program considering the growth of our communities?
We're trying to keep class size down, so I don't think we're going to have much of a choice because our community is very well sought at this point, meaning that there's a lot of people trying to come into our community and have their families here for good reason. Our school district is fantastic. And so, yes, we're not really going to have a choice but to expand it to accommodate everybody that's going to be coming in, especially with the train project and the fact that that's going to be here before we know it. Yes, we're going to, and we're going to be able to keep our class sizes small. So that's our goal.
That's one of the main goals in my introductory remarks too. It's been shown that small class sizes benefit the student. We're doing everything in our power to keep those numbers down. Sometimes it's difficult when we have a grade level that probably has a little more students than we anticipate. But we're doing the best we can with the resources that we have.
Thank you. And can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can wait. I can wait.
She'll let you.
Thank you. I guess this is maybe a weird question, but is there going to be any recourse depending on the results of the election? I mean, I don't know if anyone can speak on that.
I don't
What
know.
kind of recourse?
Yeah.
Just if Churchill is elected
Well, Churchill's not here tonight.
I understand. Yes, I'm taking that as a positive.
I'm hoping y'all
I know.
can see that.
I just don't know if there's any recourse of action where there's an ongoing investigation. That makes me feel really strange as a resident to think that someone would be representing the citizens and also be in question.
I don't think we can really.
Unfortunately, I don't.
She was notified in the beginning, and
Yes.
I assumed she was coming.
And there's a lot of things in the case that we can't comment on because it is an ongoing criminal investigation. So we can't necessarily, and I can't speak for her because again,
Right.
she is not here tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi. My name is Caroline Sadler. I have 3 children in the district, the middle school, Grays, and Freetown Elementary. So and I'm also a public educator as well. To sort of piggyback off of a previous question, in my experience, I haven't seen, I feel like the achievement gap academically, as teachers, everything's individualized. I think that I'm not as worried about that as much as I am social, emotional. And my question is, as a school committee, what has sort of been the ideas thrown out on how to address this, not putting more on teachers, but really as much of how to work with families in the community to really actually let kids be kids, not put as much on about MCAS, state testing, drilling open response questions, things like that, but really truly trying to get them back to where they need to be as people.
I agree. I think that we are on the road to doing that now. We've seen the social and emotional needs of our students since they've come back from COVID. And as everyone that has been paying attention to our budget and has been in the school committee meeting, seeing we've had to do a lot and bringing different resources into our schools to help these children because we have the highest IEPs we've ever had. Mm-hmm. We're really dealing with deficits and big gaps right now in education. And so we're trying to fill those gaps the best we can within our budget, keeping the community happy, keeping our students happy, and our parents happy. At this point, again, we have brought in several different resources, human resources, that have been able to work with our children because we did notice that, for instance, at Grays, Dr. Sullivan was working a lot with students and taking a tremendous amount of time. And so we needed to make sure that she could divide herself and focus on what she needs to.
She's
so we
wonderful.
did bring in some extra personnel to help with that.
Okay.
What was the other part of your question?
My question really is, I feel like for years and years and years, schools take on to do these things for a lot of kids because some, we live in a great district. We have a lot of supportive families. How are we working to really make families part of that? That it's not just the schools doing it, that it's a whole community thing. And I feel like as the school board, you guys are a really big part of that and really setting the tone and the expectation of it.
I would love to see more parents get involved, to be honest with you. We don't, we have school committee meeting after school committee meeting and our audience is empty. Mm-hmm. So come to meetings, be involved in PTO, be more involved if you're not in what your child is learning. Since technology came into the picture, more parents are focused on that versus what their children are actually learning in school and how to better support them with social, emotional in school and out of school. Truly, we do need to work all together as a community. And I think that starts, we're doing our job on our end, but we can't be in everybody's home. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see parents a lot more involved at our meetings, joining the PTO, being more part of our community and your child's school community than we see right now.
Okay.
Interesting enough, the Mass Department of Education is really stressing for the last couple of years social and emotional learning. Mm-hmm. It's associated not only with academics, but with behavioral issues that we all too often see on TV, especially last week. They will provide resources, but as Jen said, the parents have to be involved. The kids are only here 6 hours a day, and the other 18 hours they're at home. So we need more parent involvement. Besides the PTSO, we encourage parents to come to our meetings, to offer suggestions, ask questions about what we can do to help, and hopefully we'll be able to do that and close that achievement gap. But I think it's going to take time.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. When you miss that amount of time, and excuse me, different students have different resources at home, there's bound to be a difference, and it's up to us and you to close those gaps, close those differences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Rachel Grant from the Sonnet, and I've been watching the school committee meetings, so I appreciate all the work that you've been doing. My question is, what are you most proud of? And
Can you get a little closer
Sure.
to the mic, please?
What are you most proud of that you've been working on? And also, what worries you the most?
What I'm most proud of. Again, so during COVID, I had a cohort at my house. There were several students of my sons that were friends with them that, I really had a hard time with that whole Chromebook education. So they came to my house every day. And we had our own little classroom. So what I'm very proud of is, I know a lot of people disagree with COVID and us getting our children back to school, but truly it was one of the best things that we did. I am very proud of that. And I'm not afraid to say that I'm proud of it. I've gotten a lot of criticism for saying that I'm proud that we got our children back to school and that they got back with their friends and that they were back in sports and doing the things that they really love. Safety has always been a huge something for us to conquer, and we have. And we have been doing it for a while. And that, again, is under a lot of scrutiny. But I am proud of how far we've come with Superintendent Strauss and making our entire community a safer place. My concerns are truly for the educational gaps our children are facing right now. And that needs more attention. And like Bob said, it's not going to happen overnight. But that is one of my biggest concerns, is watching our children go from grade level to grade level and knowing that they're still really struggling, and just trying to get the best resources and the most resources that we can within our budget to help them flourish.
What I'm most proud of, it's not first of all, it's not an individual thing, it's a collective thing. But what I'm most proud of is this place and the campus that we've created over the years. I think it's the envy of a lot of towns. This particular building in general is where I had one of my best experiences in my life, was going to Apponequet High School. And one of the reasons why I came back and ran for school committee. So there are so many things that I'm proud of. But the fact that we have this complex and the teachers that we have, you couldn't ask for better people. And they want to come here. This is the envy of a lot of towns. They sneak their students in here sometimes. That's how much they appreciate it. I don't know if the town appreciates it as much as I do, but this area here used to be apple orchard, and I remember in high school getting let out when a hurricane was coming to go pick apples for Mr. Leonard, so they wouldn't fall on the ground. I mean, just looking at this place, it's awe-inspiring. I'm sorry, the second part of your question?
What concerns you going forward?
Well, what concerns me is that achievement gap, which is talked about. I mean, kids have so much different backgrounds at home. Some of them have parents that work closely with them. They have a home computer. Others of them spent the day with grandma and grandpa who probably didn't even know how to turn a computer on if there was one. So it's really, really hard to catch those people up. We're doing the best we can, but like I said initially, it's going to take time to do that. And I don't know if we got the time or not.
We're proud to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, Amanda Murphy. I have 3 students in the district. When it comes to making a district budget, what are the top objectives that drive your decision making?
Finding balance between what our students need, what our teachers and staff need, and what our communities want to help us with. So that is a very tricky, as you can assume, thing to conquer all of those. So I would, yeah.
Well, we have to get the town to buy in to the budget, and that's very difficult, especially today's a day when everything is going up. A dozen eggs, the price of gas. It's very difficult for some people right now. I'm looking into ways where some of the states actually give senior citizens a break. There were a lot of priority, a lot of, I'm trying to think of the word. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances and rules or regulations you have to follow. But for example, I think Texas senior citizens don't pay anything. Now, if they don't pay anything, that cost is going to be transferred to some other people, and that's going to cause a problem. So it's very difficult to get this budget where everybody is happy with it. And we usually end up compromising and nobody gets everything that they want. And I think that's going to happen this year as well. But we do the best with what we have. And we've always done that. Do the best with what you have. And I think we've done a pretty good job.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nikhil Barnick. I'm a senior here at Apponequet, and I actually don't have a question for the candidates, but rather I want to ask voters to just reflect on the following. Should our school leaders reflect the behaviors and morals that we teach our students? And what type of leader do you believe should be elected to this committee? It is in my opinion that a leader should go about doing the correct thing the correct way. They should not utilize deceit, emotion, divisiveness, and rule breaking to create results. I will be graduating in 2 months, and all I want is for this school district to continue to be a positive place where people can learn. In order to do so, this district needs positive leaders who will respect the system we have in place and know that the how of leadership is equally as important as what their end goals are. One of Apponequet Regional High School's tenets is honor, defined in the student handbook as promoting positive behavior, accountability, respect for oneself, for others, and for our school. Keep in mind with your vote, do the candidates before you and the candidates not here embody this tenet? And do they embody the kind of leadership that our district deserves? Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
It's a hard act to follow. My lame statistical question seems so much less interesting right now. Typically, I ask the same question each year, and I'm going to do that again so as not to change the pattern. As about 15 years ago, a study was done that said that the schools in our district had too many transitions at the younger grade levels, that we should in fact eliminate the intermediate school model and instead have 3 K through 5 elementary schools. Not build another school, but just use that school, the Grays, thank you. I was going to say Grams, and decreasing number of people know what that is. School differently than how it's being used now. So I know the candidates last year said that that was being looked into and considered. I'm just interested to know what's going on with that. Is it still in a study phase? Has any more thought or activity taken place there? Or a perfectly honest answer would be no, we've had other more pressing things and haven't gotten to it. I'm just curious where that stands.
So I'm going to go with a more honest answer, and that's going to be, as most of our community knows, we have had a lot more pressing things to take care of. The talks are still there. It's just nothing has necessarily been set in stone or moved on with.
Well, I concur with that, but I am not against doing that. The students have a tough time as it is going from elementary school to the next school to the next school. I think it puts a burden on them, and I think we can do it. When I was in school, that's an old style line, it was 1 to 8 and everybody got along, and it wasn't, it would save a lot of money, I think. I don't know what we would do with that building, but I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I think it's a good idea.
As a follow-up just for Bob, all the years that I've known you and all the years that I spent at the Auditorium Inn, I never knew that you worked there before.
I
was
think I
before your
remember.
time.
I think I remember you, but I don't think that you were in any shape to remember me.
That's a good one. Thank you both.
Wow, I could make some
Sorry,
comments
Mike.
on that.
Hi, everybody. I really don't have a question for everybody, but I've been in the school system here for about 14 years. I have a sophomore and a freshman in the high school right now. All I want to say is, if I've ever had an issue with anything that was going on in the school system, all I did was I picked up the phone. I didn't go on social media. I didn't complain, bitch. All I did was I called that person, that specific whatever it was. And honestly, I probably only had like 2 issues. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm super cool or anything, or my kids are super cool. But like, I just called and like it was rectified. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like the school system is awesome. Like I am so happy about the school system. My kids have prospered. But I just want you guys to know that, like, just hang in there. If you have a question or if you have a concern, call somebody. Bob called me last night. We talked. I talked to a couple, of the other school committee members all the time. I'm not afraid to ask them questions. You shouldn't be afraid to ask them questions. It's honestly a thankless job. This is a thankless job. My father was a school committee member in Canton, Massachusetts for like 20 years. I remember him coming home from executive session at like 2 a.m., and he worked all day long. But like these guys have a passion for it. You know what I mean? So just give them some credit. And if you have any questions, just talk to them. That's it. Communication is key. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm a senior here at Apponequet. And this question was meant for Kayla Churchill, who is not here. But I mainly wanted to, so I'll say it anyways, just so, like the question's on the record. If, safety is your most important, running point. However, despite that, she has gone after the GSA, which I'm a part of, trying to get a list of students in the GSA. And along with that, she has publicly supported groups such as the Moms for Liberty, which has made various homophobic and transphobic.
I don't think we can go there without someone here to defend themselves. I know she was offered, but I don't know if we can go that route. Anybody can come up here and say anything that they would like about that, but I don't know if that's a fair way to go. If you have anything to say about...
This is a student, and Miss Churchill is clearly absent for a reason, and I don't necessarily agree with you because this is our future right here, and she has chosen to not be here. So I say we let our student finish.
I don't know. I find it difficult to continue that way.
I find it difficult to not continue that way.
This has no end to going.
Well, then she should have been here.
Turn this into a question. How do you guys feel, and do you support activities for individuals in our community for GLBTQ youth?
Absolutely. So that goes with our equality. And that's what our district is about.
If you want to address a question to the two candidates that are here, feel free.
No, thank you.
You know, if you want to tell them that they're doing a great job or something, you know,
Well, I haven't
feel
heard
free.
anything bad,
They're here.
so.
Thank you. And we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
And we thank you for your courage in standing up, because as you can see, Ms. Churchill did not.
Anything that could be productive here. Go ahead.
So I too don't necessarily have a direct question. I just want to thank the two of you for the jobs that you've done. I've attended school committee meetings. I've watched them, thankfully, when they're streaming live. I've seen the work that you've been doing, and I know that the work for the safety of our schools started well before the breach as well. I saw the law officers from both communities, the chief of police and fire departments, explaining the walkthrough that they did back in July. And I also want to let you know that I appreciate how you've handled this election and how you have not made bold statements, because frankly, when safety is the number one concern, putting everything about our schools out on the media is not beneficial to our students, to our staff, to our schools. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
So my name is Heather Ashley, and I am in Freetown, Massachusetts. I also work here for the school system, and I come to the school committee meetings often. And I think until, I've had 3 kids through the system. I have one currently in the 7th grade. And I think until you see firsthand, especially working here, what a good job the school committee does. But I have to say firsthand, though, if you don't come to these meetings, guys, as parents in the younger generation, thank you, and come to the town meetings to vote for the money for our schools, we're never going to get them. Because, Bob, no offense to you, not of the older generation, they don't want to hire their taxes. They don't want to, they want to keep status quo. We can't do that here in this school district. I work in special education, and I'm going to say that because I also have a special education student, and I see firsthand how what the struggle is, what our numbers are. These kids, it's growing. And if we as parents do not go and support our school committee, go to our town school budgets and vote and help them, we're going to go nowhere. So I just wanted to put that up there.
Thank you.
There are no other questions. Can I place one? Can you update us on the vocational school involvement? On where that's going to land and how that's going to work in our budget. I believe it's one of the questions on the ballot too.
It is. It is one of the questions on the ballot.
I was hoping
Yes.
the only question on the
Article
ballot. Correct. I just thought that maybe the listening audience back home, that is going to see this recording would probably be interested in any information you could give them on making that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a very difficult decision for a lot of people. And I graduated from Apponequet when it was a vocational school also. So I was blessed to have that here for me. And, but that was back then.
So an update is Rehoboth is the final district that needs to vote to include us. Our town unanimously voted to join BP. The ballot question on April 3rd will decide how the town should fund the new building project. In comparison to OC with Bristol Plymouth, we have 6 more shops with Bristol Plymouth. It's actually going to cost roughly $3,500 less per student than if we were to send our children to Old Colony. We're still waiting for the town's projected cost on what the project is going to be. There's a significant debt coming off of the books with the FES building project being done. And so, there's going to be some offset there. Update, like that would be probably, we're still kind of in the planning and seeing where the budget is. But BP is a wonderful option for our children. We need a vocational option for our children. Apponequet is a wonderful high school. My son graduated from high school. And again, my other son is thriving at BP. So it has been a wonderful addition to our community. And I hope that this town votes for the debt exclusion so that we can continue our work.
I couldn't add too much more to that. When I was here, we did have a vocational department. Some of my best friends were in the vocational department. They went on to have very, very successful careers. Somehow we got into the attitude that college was for everybody, and it isn't. And if you ever had a plumber or an electrician come to your house, you know that probably they made the right choice. There is a concern about the cost. I think it started out with $700,000. The last estimate I heard was 1.2 million. How are we going to fund that? That's a question that looms in everybody's mind. And that's one of the reasons why I went out and started investigating what options we would have as far as senior citizens are concerned, because they would have the biggest impact on them, especially people that don't have grandchildren or children that went here. They're on a fixed income, maybe on the poverty line. I don't want to see their taxes skyrocket and get into a situation where it's eat or heat or pay the additional taxes. Like I said before, there are some states that give senior citizens a break, and I would ask the selectmen to look into that. I had actually supposed to meet with the selectmen this week, but it didn't happen. But I want what's best for the students, but I want to protect as much as I can some of the citizens in town that they're in a situation where it wouldn't be good for them. So I think it's full speed ahead. I don't think the only way it was explained to me was if you wanted to get out of it, it doesn't pass a town meeting, and then you have to secede or pull out. And I don't think we can do that. I think that it would violate the agreement. So whether you like it or not, I think it's needed, especially today. I'd rather be an electrician than a sociology major. I know I could get a job, but with the other one, I don't know. So, I mean, it's needed. I think we made a mistake years ago when we didn't join the Old Colony, but the town might have been in a position then where they couldn't. So I'm not going to fault them. It just didn't happen. And now we're looking at this. So we'll see what happens on town meeting floor.
Margaret, did you have a question? I saw her run down.
Hi, I just want to address this. I'm also on FinCom for Freetown. As far as we did vote unanimously to join BP, absolutely, that's the best choice for our students. However, they do have this big building project. When we become a member, not this coming up year, but the following year, we will have to pay our fair share of that based on how many students we send. This estimates, I mean, we all know what happens with buildings until it actually gets done. We don't know what the final tally will be. We're looking at roughly $700,000 per year for 30 years. There's a few years that are a little less, few years that are right around that time, that amount. We want this debt exclusion so that we can just collect that much money to pay that debt each year and not impact the taxes permanently. Also, if it doesn't pass, we have to take it out of our tax levy, and we don't have that money in our budget. So please, I concur. Please consider voting yes for that, just to help support our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
Hi, I'm Jean Fox. I just wanted to add one more thing to what we heard from my colleagues, and that is that were we to stay with Old Colony or any of the other local Voc Tech schools, we would be paying for their buildings too. They're all doing expansions. That BP is a little bit ahead of the game on it, which, from cost escalation point of view is actually to our advantage. It is a big bite. We all recognize that, but we also all recognize as a community that we owe our kids a vocational education, and BP has turned out to be a stellar institution providing that to our kids.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. And yeah, just to echo that, Margaret French, I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as the impact to the town and explaining it, but thank you. And I've been the guy kind of pushing this pretty hard, being on the BP kind of vocational exploratory subcommittee here, and Jean and Lisa, who's here as well. I'm just want to provide the context for how we got here, right? And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the parents and families 3 years ago that were kind of excluded from Old Colony when they were trying to get a vocational education due to increased enrollment from member towns within the district. And I think it really came back to bite us at that point that we were not a member of a vocational district. Luckily for the town and the parents and students, we kind of put together a group relatively quickly to go out there and see what was out there as far as other options. And Jean, you hit the nail on the head. If we stayed with Old Colony, they would have had a building project coming down the road. Diamond has a building project currently in the works as well. So it's all around us. It's just a result of the state pouring money, and rightfully so, to Bob's point, into vocational education. For us, we were thrilled with what we saw at BP. We were thrilled with the fact that they had 6 or 7 more shops. We were thrilled with the fact of the facilities, the shop offerings, and the fact ultimately it is cheaper to send students there on a per pupil basis. Like Jen mentioned, around $3,500 per student cheaper. I just want to throw out there as well, just the impact if this doesn't pass and we do pull out of BP, the towns of Freetown is responsible for paying the tuition and transportation for those students that are looking to get a vocational education. So if we do not have membership at BP, they're not going to continue taking our students on a tuition basis forever. We can't have our cake and eat it too. So what that ultimately means is that students would be able to apply for any vocational school in the Commonwealth. And if they got in, the town would kind of have to foot the bill on the tuition and the transportation. So it's not necessarily a predictable cost structure when you're sending one kid to Cape Cod Tech. Maybe you're sending 3 students down to Minuteman Tech. So long term, it's not that predictable cost structure for the town, which is important for us to lock in as well. So thank you so much. I know that's not directly a question to you folks, but allowing us to get the information out there, John, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Hi.
Yes.
I know that safety is a hot topic, obviously. We all want safety to be a number one priority. We know that school safety is very important, but I haven't heard much about what is the long-term plan for the safety of our schools. I just don't think that having parents show their ID to the office workers that know them so they can drop off their kids is necessarily the right long-term plan. So what is that long-term plan?
So again, we're not going to be able to please everyone. So some people absolutely love the fact that they have to show IDs and that the security as heightened as it is. Long-term, we're going to continue with what we're doing. We have a lot more in the process that we're not going to talk about because we're not going to put out there for everybody to know exactly what our security measures are. I think that is the safest thing to do for our community. You're going to see things as we move forward. Again, we've done the vestibules. We're doing the vestibules. We have the Raptor ID. You now have to show up with your your identification, even if it's to drop something off for your child, you have to show it now. And prior to, you didn't. We had a breach. It was human error. We have corrected our human error. And the safety procedures that were in place starting July 2022, which again was 4 months prior to our breach, we're moving along with those. And that's what we see at this time, along with our police and fire department, to be the best way to handle the situation and to move forward. Again, I'm not going to go into the extended of what I said in my opening, because that's just putting us out there and open. And this town has already been sensationalized for a lack of security and opened up in a position where anyone could have come at us at that point, thinking that our security was not where it needed to be. So there are a lot of things still in the works and that we're working towards, but they're not necessarily things that we're going to throw out there for everybody to know, so that danger will also know what's happening. We're trying to keep some of those things a little bit quieter. But moving forward, I mean, we've got a lot of safety stuff going on. That was already in the works.
As far as long-term is concerned, I have the Freetown Elementary School security recommendations from the Freetown Police Department. It's several pages long, includes several recommendations, some of which is implemented and some of which we haven't. There's always an opportunity to review this plan and see what additional safety measures we can do. But right now, I think we're pretty much on track as far as their recommendations are concerned. I think Lakeville has a similar plan, but I don't have access to it. But all I can say is it's in the works. We're following the suggestions of the police department, and we'll get it done.
And when will that be fully implemented?
I mean, I don't think we can give you a date on when it can be fully implemented. As you've seen so far, the vestibules have been done, Raptor ID has been done. We have put in place several trainings and protocols for our staff, and we're going to continue. I'm not sure that school safety is ever something that we're going to stop. So to put on a date on when it's going to be complete, I'm pretty sure that as we move forward, there's going to be more things that we're going to implement over time, because we're going to see different things that we need. We're going to get different ideas from police departments, other schools that we need. So I think by saying that there's a deadline or there's a date in which our safety is going to be complete, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think we're always going to be exploring new ways and other avenues to keep our students and our staff safe.
A comprehensive plan today might not be the same as a complementary, a plan from a year from now.
Correct.
And we have to be flexible to include new technology, new ideas. However much you have, if something happens, it wasn't enough. And that's my concern. That's the committee's concern, that we try to cover all the bases. When you factor in the human error, how do you discount human error? I mean, somebody looks away for a minute. It's really hard, no matter what procedures you have in place, to make sure that there is a person making a mistake down the line. If you looked at some of the footage from the latest school shooting, it's just scary. It's just scary what you could have done to prevent that, and I don't know if you could. It's just something that we try and improve every time we meet. It's just a sad situation in this country, where kids have to go to school and the parents have to be frightened, other kids as well. It's just sad.
Yes, sir.
My name is Matt Allen, by the way. I have a child and a wife that works in the district. Question for you about the COVID gaps and the learning loss that took place. First of all, thank you for getting the kids back in the classroom. I don't know. It's shocking to me that still you get criticism for that. That's
so much.
That's unbelievable to me.
So much.
Because I think history has shown that you were correct in that and should have gone further, as much as you could have. But what specifically are the gaps? Where are they? What do you, because obviously you're going to have to triage it. There's probably a ton everywhere. So is it gaps in certain cohorts of kids? Is it special education kids that are suffered the most? Is it boys versus girls, age groups? High schoolers, are they the worst when it comes to education specifically? Can you give us specifics as to how big the gaps are, numbers wise, the MCAS gaps, whatever they are, and then what the at least the beginnings of a plan are to deal with it? And also, if you could talk to how much, a lot of times in education, I see it all the time, throw things at, just say, oh, just try this. This is proven. It's a product from a vendor. You know, the vendors drive me crazy because they're like used car salesmen selling you stuff, and then they get their money, they walk away, and the stuff that they sold the district doesn't do anything. So, and my point is asking, can you show us or talk to us about the rigor of the veracity of what it is we're going to do, so that we're not just doing things just to do them, that we know they're going to work to the best of our knowledge. So the gaps, what to do about them, where they are, and the tools we're going to use and how effective those tools are, if you could.
I think those gaps are widely vary from age population to subjects, math, English. I think it goes across the board. Some schools are doing okay, some schools are not. I don't have the graphs from the Department of Ed, but there is a wide variance. And what I said before, a lot of it has to do with what happened during that COVID period. A child has a computer, a literate parent as far as computer knowledge is concerned, versus somebody that doesn't even have a computer, and if they do, their guardian or parent doesn't really use it very much. I don't think you can pin it down to one particular area or one particular group. I think it depends on the student, the diversity of the student, what kind of homeschooling or that they had during the COVID crisis. I don't think you can pin it on one individual group of students, or even a school for that matter. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
I just wanted to know if there was certain areas that you've noticed, like this is really bad, like boys are doing really bad, girls are doing really bad, high school girls are doing really bad, and if you're going to focus on those areas first, because like to triage.
Again, I'd have to bring the graphs to show you what areas have gone down, what areas might have gone up. All I can say is that it's a variable, a big variable, and I don't think you can pinpoint one school or one sex or one subject matter. It's a wide variance, and there's a lot of factors that play into it. Because
devise a plan then if we don't know where it's all over the place. How do you focus resources?
That's a very good question. I'd be honest to say I'm not sure that anything that we're trying is going to work. I mean, I've read where students are going to be a year and a half behind, no matter what. Is that going to be borne out? I don't know.
I think the most important factor, and I know the question wasn't for me, but it's identifying it. And Ashley Boulay and her team are doing a great job right now with our incoming students and our current students. Our IEPs are through the roof right now. And the amount of testing that we're doing for IEPs, I mean, and it's statewide. It's not just our district. Our district is actually in pretty good shape in comparison to other districts. But it's a wide range, and it's starting with our preschool and kindergartners, and it's going all the way up to the high school. So Ashley Boulay, again, is working very, very hard, and we're trying to get her all the resources possible within our budget to really be able to focus on those children and get them up to speed.
Are those IDPs, do you think, due to COVID, or do they be there anyway?
So, I mean, statistically, they haven't necessarily been there historically. So I'm going to assume, and it's only assumption, that a lot of it has to do with COVID, because we've always had students and we've always had a need for IEPs like everybody else. However, it is incredible how many her team is really doing at this point. I mean, it goes to show the achievement gap that has happened, because these are students that have been in our district. These are students that are entering our schools because they were young. But I mean, even children in our district who were not on an IEP prior to COVID are now being assessed for an IEP. So
I think some of that is the fact that they were at home during that crisis, and parents who were home noticed things that maybe they didn't notice before as far as their advancement was concerned. And I think that's what's increased the number of IEPs, because the parents become aware now that maybe that's not what should be going on with their child at that particular time. Maybe they should be more advanced than what they are.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Danielle DaCosta. I'm a Sonnet resident with a child in kindergarten at Freetown Elementary. And my question is, has the school committee discussed, or do either of you believe there's a need for additional school resource officers within the district?
Bob and I just talked about this earlier. I mean, we both believe, I think I can speak for you too, Bob, that every school in the United States at this point should have a resource officer. Unfortunately, it's not as easily said as it is done. Do I personally believe we should have a resource officer in every school? I think every school in the United States at this point should have one. Is that something that in the future we will probably be working a little bit harder to do and get in? Yes. But again, a lot of these things that we would like, when put into a budget and when our townspeople are faced with tax increases, they don't always equal out. So we are truly doing the best that we can right now within our budget to make sure that we do have the proper safety in our schools. And I think that in the future, that would definitely be something I would be on board with, because I believe resource officers should be in every school. As opposed to arming our teachers, I would much rather have a resource officer.
Well, it's funny because I was just reading something last week, an FBI report that indicated that school resource officers did solve a lot of problems in the school, but there was no evidence that they were real effective with regard to a school shooter. They give a myriad of reasons for that, but even the fact that they solve other problems, forget about the violent problems. The other thing I saw was that having a resource officer in every schools made some students uneasy, nervous, anxiety. So it's a two-edged sword. I mean, I think, do I think they should have one in every school? Yeah, I do. But I'm not sure from reading this FBI report how effective it would be when it comes to major safety violation conditions. I think the jury's still out on that.
Thank you for your responses, and also thank you for the work that you've done to make our schools safer to this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kelly Hiller. I have two kids in the district here, one at, Grace now. I keep saying Freetown Elementary, but it's not anymore. And then one at the high school here. And I also, my job, I'm actually a program director and professor of clinical lab science at Bristol Community College. And this is actually a follow-up on the gap from COVID question. We are, by the way, seeing it at the college level as well, significantly. I've had to change the curriculum that I have used and improved for over a decade in the last year or so because of how these students are performing and things they don't actually have a grasp on that students in prior years have. So my question is, are there thoughts of working with the local community colleges? And I know I say that because there really is only one really close by, but there is Massasoit as well, which I've also taught at as well, to really look at what are the students that are graduating from here? Where are some of the deficiencies or the challenges that we're seeing, at the first year experience level? We have a very robust dual enrollment and early college programs, but those are students that are qualified to be able to do that. So we do start seeing gaps even within, I teach in selective admissions programs. So they have to actually qualify to get admitted into my program, and we're still seeing those gaps. So are there, talks or thoughts about partnering with these colleges to kind of help address some of the student needs here at the high school level?
I don't know of any. However, I think that's a great suggestion. And I think that it would be great for us to bring to Ashley Boulay, because I think any help at this point would be welcomed. And because we do have students leaving our high school and going to BCC, better preparing them for that within that gap would be nothing but a benefit for both schools. So I would certainly suggest to Ashley Boulay, if you're even willing to reach out to her and kind of give her a little nudge as well. I think that would be a great idea. It would be a good collaboration.
I see that gap as I'm teaching a Massasoit now anatomy course for nurses, and there is definitely a gap for the incoming students on the second tier of an anatomy class, but they have an academic center at the college which struggling students can go to try and increase their abilities. I don't know if those students that are struggling, if any way that's related to COVID or not. So we keep coming back to COVID, and I would like to see an academic center here, an academic resource center here to help students that are falling behind for whatever reason. I just don't know that if that could be accommodated into our budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Would you two candidates want to do any closing statement, or have you said enough?
Is there ever a thing said enough? So I'd like to close the night by saying I no longer have children in this district, as we all know. However, I do have many friends and clients that do, and I am very proud to serve our communities and would love to earn your vote to continue the work here that I have been part of for the last 3 years. I would also like to note, because this has been something that has been very heavy in social media and everything else. And I think that from my standpoint, the amount of negativity that has been brought to this town due to Mrs. Churchill is unacceptable. The danger she single-handedly put our students and staff in by sensationalizing, and that's exactly what it was, her actions that day is unacceptable. On Monday, April 3rd, I ask that you vote for the candidates you want representing your children's education and our communities. I want to thank the Lions Club and for all of you who did show up to ask questions and hear us out.
Well, I didn't write a closing statement. Like was said initially, this is going to be my last hurrah. But I would take the opportunity to thank all the citizens in Freetown and Lakeville who supported me over the years. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the Lions Club and their opportunity, giving me the opportunity to answer questions. I'm always available to answer questions. You give on my website or my phone number for that matter. But it's just been, for me, it's been an honor and a privilege to represent the towns on the school committee, and I'd like to thank you very much.
On behalf of the Lions Club, myself, the members that are here, my wife of 42 years, who is also a Apponequet graduate, Lucille Rosa, Cheryl, the town clerk, who helped us with the timer. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and participating. The Lions Club's motto is "We serve," and we're here to serve, and I didn't think this year should be any different. We appreciate everything that this town has to offer us, and we try to put back into this town as much as we can. And we thank everybody for that. Thank you for coming.